Welcome back to Watching Business Incorporated right here on Channels Television. Now let's talk about something that we deal with every day. Everybody's on social media now. We hear stories of it's not just for fun. You can actually earn some living from social media. But how many of us do have that strategy to do that? Well, we have joining us to expose some of this, maybe to some of us, media strategist Barbara Okafor joins us virtually from London. Hi, Barbara. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here.
Good to have you here. So everybody's on social media, but not everybody seems to be maximizing the opportunities on social media. We have some people who call themselves content creators, but we know it's not easy. Should everybody, let's start from there, should everybody be making money from social media, or should some of us just be there for fun?
I think it depends on your intersection and your goal with social media as a whole. You mustn't be making money from social media, to be honest. You can have it for fun, but social media does present opportunities for everyone, anybody from whatever sector, to make money from it. If you have the right strategy, if you can define what you want to achieve from it, and if you can, structure it in such a way that it could benefit yourself or your business. So it really depends on your goal and what you want to achieve with social media. But is there an opportunity for everyone to make money on social media? Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't come easy. Nobody should think that it's really easy when you see people posting content on social media. It takes a lot of intentionality and effort. It doesn't happen accidentally, or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely correct. It takes a lot of work to post on social media. There are a lot of things that you need to consider. For example, for people who actually take this as their 9-to-5, people who are social media and content creators and content driven, a lot of them have to do a lot of data mining and being able to harness that core data, doing a lot of audience research takes a lot of work. You have to do surveys, audience-centric interviews and things like that to gather your data. Then the aspect of when you have this data, you have to accumulate that data. Look at what the data is telling you. Look at your own personal goals and what you want to achieve. You have to define your audience, because you can't speak to everybody. There's everybody on social media, but you can't speak to everybody. And it takes a lot of narrowing things down and niching things down for you to be able to find out who you're trying to speak to. And that is just the beginning. You also have to go on to be skilled enough to produce your content or hire people who are going to do that for you. But before you even do that, you have to plan the content. You have to plan what time is going out. You have to plan it against the research you've done to see if your audiences are online at the time you want to, post it. You also have to think about multiple platforms, because there's a cross synergy of platforms in this our digital landscape. A lot of new social media platforms are emerging. You have to consider, where do I want these things to be placed? How do I repurpose the content for LinkedIn to fit into Instagram? How do I repurpose the one for Instagram to fit into Facebook? How do I repurpose the one from Facebook to fit into TikTok? Because they are all separate audiences. And a lot of times you have to touch base across all those platforms to build your relevancy. So honestly, the work when it comes to content creation is a lot, but it's also very telling of the day and age we live in, because a lot of things are data driven. You have to be very, very strategic about things you do in any sector, in any business, and it applies as well in the digital landscape and when it comes to content creation and social media. So a lot of work is put into that. A lot of people don't see that sometimes, but a lot of work goes into creating content for social media. So you have to be mentally prepared and also prepare yourself when it comes to building your skills to be able to operate in that space. So yes, definitely.
Yeah, Barbara, I knew it. I knew somebody was deceiving us. When you see people, all those content creators on social media, they're all smiles and, looking good and makeup all in place, you wouldn't know that they have to take into consideration so many things. And I hear you talk about data mining. When you talk about data mining, where does it start from? What are the possible sources? What are the trends?
So it depends on what party is data mining. For brands, for example, a lot of people use primary and core data these days. So they track the behaviors and patterns of their audiences on their primary platform. So let's say a TikTok, for example, TikTok has primary data of the users who operate on the platform. So they track, your activities, your behavioral patterns, things like that. And they can use that to make inferences on how to better structure certain things around the app, provide new product features, new upgrades for their users. Then when it comes to people like us, the everyday users of these platforms, we can get data from different ways. Thankfully, a lot of social media platforms have specific data mining channels or specific data analytic touch points you can use. And there's a lot of apps like CrowdTangle, Aeolus that could also give you insight into some user data. Then there's also the traditional one, which never goes wrong when it comes to structuring research and surveys for data, like proper data and market analysis and audience analysis. So there are a couple of ways you could do that. You could take on a mixed method approach where you design surveys in a quantitative way, or you could also add open-ended questions to your surveys left for you to decide. Then you could also take the qualitative method where you do user interviews, you do focus groups and things like that. And there's a wealth of technological apps that make it easy for you to do, because it might sound a lot when I'm explaining it now, but things like SurveyMonkey, user interview, and the rest of them will help you streamline the process of getting this done. But those are the basic ways you can start to mine your data and get your data source. And there's also, for people who don't have access to those tools, the ability to just ask your audiences what they want from you. That's also a form of data as well. As long as you can collect information and get feedback from people, then that is a source of gathering data.
It sounds like you have to also be passionate about this, and I don't think it's something you can do on the side. You have a full-time job and then you're doing it even though you enjoy being on social media.
You can absolutely combine it with a full-time job. It's not easy. It's like it's like you determining to have a side hustle or a side business. You can absolutely do that with a job. It sounds a lot, but as time goes on, as you have more information, as you've grown your user base, it becomes easier. And the thing about, deciding to become a content creator or incorporating that into your brand is that every brand, think about it in this way. Every brand is trying to tell a story. Channel Steve is trying to tell a story. You're trying to tell a story as a brand yourself. You aspire to be seen in a certain way, etc. And social media gives you those tools to tell your stories by yourself. And so when you think of it from that point of view, it reduces the work, because you realize you have to just bring your authentic self to the table. The other granular bits of gathering your data, doing your research, those things have to happen, but they don't have to happen every day. So when you've done that basic research and when you've structured that in a good way that helps you, you can now go into the flow of just telling your authentic story, bringing quality based on the audience research that you've done. So the hard part is actually mentally preparing that you want to do this. And I think it's something that anyone can do, honestly. It's just that you have to be strategic about it. That's the word. You have to be very strategic about it.
All right, Barbara, thank you so much for those tips. I tell you personally, I don't think it's for me, but it's good to have passionate people like you and so many other people creating content to keep us glued to our social media while making some money out of it. Barbara Okafor is a media strategist. Thank you for sharing those strategies with us.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.